Hello and welcome to another video, and today I'm going over the events of the 22nd of August. So let's get into this. In the Kherson region, there's not much that has occurred in terms of movement on the ground, but there were a lot of strikes that were reported on by both sides. So Russia, they say in the Kherson region, they destroyed 6 missile and artillery depots, and that they shot down 13 shells from multiple rocket launch systems. Now, this was announced right before some major rocket fire on both the Antonovsky Bridge and on the Novokakhovka area. So there were 10 rockets fired at the Antonovsky Bridge just a few hours ago, and in the videos there was a major fire that was shown. I'm not sure if some of the rockets were intercepted, but some probably were, but at least some detonated and landed either on the bridge itself or on the pontoon bridges. And in addition to that, in the Novokakhovka area, over here, there was a big explosion in a warehouse that was being used by the Russians. But the Russians, they also had a fair deal of missile strikes they've done over the past few days. So, for instance, in Nikolayev, there were a lot of explosions reported over here, and the videos were shown and spread around on social media. But the thing is, in a lot of these videos, the targets get censored, so it is very difficult to see what was actually targeted because everything is blurry in the video. But what's being said is that this bridge over here was targeted, and it connects the east and western sides of Nikolayev, so it is very important to destroy this bridge for any assault on Nikolayev, to cut any coordination along this river over here. In addition, there were a lot of strikes on Odessa over the past few days, and one of them, which occurred yesterday, was on a warehouse. And the Russians, they claim that they destroyed a HIMARS system in here. And they say that this is the 10th HIMARS system that they destroyed. And that's out of like 16 that were shipped. They say that the caliber missiles, they were used to destroy it. And then earlier today, the Russians, they hit the Zatoka Bridge, which is I'm pretty sure it's over here, but I might be wrong about that, so I apologize. But it is an important bridge in the area of Odessa. So it's been targeted before several times already, but now it's being targeted again. In addition to this, there were strikes by Russia on the 28th Mechanized Brigade in Lupareve in the Mykolaiv region. And the Russians, they say that they killed 50 Ukrainian troops and destroyed some armored vehicles around here. And besides that, there's not much going on here, just the usual. Although the strikes on Mykolaiv, especially on this bridge, it does indicate that Russia is preparing some sort of assault. Not just yet, but it is clearly something that they have on their bucket list. Now let's move on to Crimea, where there were a lot of UAVs shot down and a lot of like probing attacks by the Ukrainians into Crimea over the past few days. And none of these have had real material success, but that's not really the point of these attacks. The point is to first of all overwhelm the air defense systems and to get a gauge as to their capabilities, so then if they use like ATACMS or HARM missiles, like these longer range missiles, they want to see the likelihood of success because they are limited in shipments. They need to get more of these long range missiles from NATO and the US. So that's really the point of these UAV attacks. So as of now, the S-400s and the Pantsirs, they have done an okay job at stopping the drones, but they are getting pretty overwhelmed by now. There were UAVs present over Sevastopol and also over Yalta and also the city over here, um, Yevpatoria, and a bunch of other ones like Olenivka, and there was one other that I'm forgetting. But the point is, there are copious amounts of drones flying over the Russian airspace at the moment. Anyway, let's move on to the Vuhledar area, where a lot of reserves were sent in by the Ukrainians, territorial defense units, and other such more ragtag units. And they were very quickly sent in just to prevent a major breakthrough from occurring. So now they're using this road as a defensive line around here, and there's fighting going on in Pavlivka. I'm not sure exactly how the map looks like within Pavlivka, but there is fighting over there. So if there's any news from here, I will update the map. But in general, the advance has sort of slowed down due to the sending of reserves to the front lines. And then in the area of Pisky, there's some new news. We have reports that the Russians, they've been able to dislodge the Ukrainians from some of their defensive positions along the ring road. So I'm going to update that map. The furthest extent of the Russian advance is over here, where the Ukrainians are forced to retreat under heavy artillery fire by the Russians, and the advance of the Somali battalion and the 11th Regiment of the DPR. And by now, the plant breeding station is pretty much under the control of the Russians, and the fighting is going on along this road over here. This is the new haphazardly created defensive line, which has been holding as of now. It is holding, but there are already cracks beginning to form. The fighting along this like junction over here in these like roundabouts is continuing, but once this falls, it's just open fields, which are just it's not a good position for Ukraine because it's they're basically like open ducks, just waiting to be fired upon by Russian artillery, which is why I added in some footage and the geolocations of Russian artillery fire in this area and the storming of some positions, like in this video over here. So if you want, watch those videos. Still, Nevelske is under Ukrainian control, but the Russians are inching closer and they are fighting around the outskirts. And then we'll see what happens around the ring road if the Russians are able to quickly pass through this road and advance towards Vodiane. That would be a top priority of theirs. Now let's move on to the rest of the front line. So there is some news from Kodema for the first time in a while. It's being reported now that about half of the settlement is under the control of the Russians at the moment, and they are making some steady advances along here. Problem is, there's a lot of higher elevation areas around the northern part of the town, and also to a lesser extent on the southern parts of the town. So that is sort of complicating things because there's still clashes going on around here, and advancing into this area is very difficult given the fact that counter battery can be used against the infantry over here, which is why Russia has been just taking their time trying to minimize casualties. And it is safe to say that at least most of the town is actually vacant by now, and that Ukraine isn't even present in here, but that Russians aren't present in here either. So watch out for what happens over here. I would say that Russia needs to secure the heights as well, and then once they secure these heights and also the town itself, it's really going to be easier for them to advance towards like Mykolaievka or some any other settlement along this road over here. It will be easier for them. And the same thing can be said about Zaitsev. Vysela Dolina as well, because the areas around Vysela Dolina to the east of them, and also the same thing with Zaitsev, they're of higher elevation, so Russia does have the advantage in that regard. So we will see how long the Ukrainians can hold out in this very difficult position. It is an arduous task to deal with the constant artillery and the manpower shortages and fatigue, but they have been able to successfully hold on to this line for a while, even though there have been major strikes on Bakhmut and on other towns like Zaitsev in recent days. And then in Soledar, we also have news from there that the 6th Company of the 2nd Battalion of the 93rd Motorized Brigade, they are releasing a video with complaints about the difficult fighting around here and that they are not willing to fight anymore. They want to return home. And this is just one company, but again, that is still not a good sign. It does indicate that there is some heavy fighting going on in Soledar and that Ukraine does not have the upper hand in this battle. In the video that was released, I could only see about 20 people. That's what I counted. It's possible that they were just out of the frame, the rest of them, but usually companies have like, 100 people in them. So maybe that means that the rest got killed, which would be pretty crazy, those sort of casualty numbers. And it would also contribute to the low morale that the troops would be suffering in there. Besides that, in the area of Mazanivka and Vernopilia, there are some Russian recon operations. They're just preparing for some battles around here, scouting out everything, but no changes. And then, lastly, in the Kharkiv area, the Russians announced that they destroyed the radar guidance station for some S-300 complex. There was also some footage from Russian media in the town of Rubizhny over here, which is right on the forefront of the battles going on over here. But it does confirm the obvious that Russia was in control, so nobody can really doubt that anymore. And then Verkhny Saltiv, there have been some strikes there recently. I've talked about that before, and it is a key town that Russia needs to overrun if they want to advance further south in this area. That's really it for Kharkiv. Now, there's a lot of news outside of the front lines that I do want to go over. So, I'm going to talk about that now. So, from the 22nd of August, which is today, to the 26th of August, there's a lot of talk that Russia will be launching these major strikes and these, like, quote-unquote provocations along the front lines and also within Ukraine. And the reason for this is, first of all, because of the assassination of Darya Dugina, but also because on the 24th of August, it's a Ukrainian Independence Day, and it's also the 6-month anniversary of the beginning of the war between Russia and Ukraine. And then also, the 23rd of August is Flag Day in Ukraine, so it is just a very action-packed week. That's what Ukraine is anticipating, and we can see this given the fact that the Ukrainians, they've instituted a 36-hour curfew in the Kharkiv city, and they've already set up like these bomb shelters around Kharkiv. They set up the first like a bus station bomb shelter pretty recently in the Kharkiv area. And in addition to this, the Ukrainians, they added new alarms for chemicals and radiation in Kiev. And from the 22nd to the 26th of August, employees in major government institutions like the parliament or the bank in Ukraine, is specifically in the capital, Kiev, they're being told to work remotely. So they clearly do anticipate something. And then there were some Russians that are claiming, oh, there's going to be some sort of false flag attack, so look out for whatever occurs within the next 4 days. Um, Ukraine's Southern Military Command say that they've spotted Russian warships with missiles moving back into the Black Sea after a lot of them were moved deeper into like the Russian ports around here, like this port over here, uh, Novorossiysk, and now some of them are apparently being moved back into the Crimea area, into the Black Sea. Um, so they're worrying that there's going to be some like Russian strikes with missiles on these warships. This has happened before. There was one on Uman pretty recently, which apparently destroyed like a HIMARS system. But now let's move on to the updates about the Darya Dugina assassination. So the FSB, they say that the perpetrator was a Ukrainian woman named Natalia Volk, a 43-year-old, and she entered the Russian territory with her daughter, Sofia Shaban, on July 23rd. So they used a DPR license plate to get in, and then they switched from a DPR license plate to a Kazakh license plate while they were living in Moscow for about a month. They lived in the vicinity of Dugina's home. They wanted to just get to understand how she lives, the sort of things she does, just to get a better understanding of how to best kill her. And then when Dugina went to the Tradition Festival, Vovk and her daughter, they also attended. And in the parking lot, they added in this remote-controlled detonation device and quickly fled to Estonia from the city of Pskov, which is over here, this one. And they switched their license plate again when they were in Pskov to a Ukrainian one. And they quickly entered into here, which does complicate things. But anyway, what's being said is that the license plate that was the Ukrainian one is AH7771IP, and that's apparently the one that was listed on this Ukrainian car sales website called Autoria. And Autoria, a 2018 Mini Cooper with the same license plate, was being sold by this guy called Daniel Shaban. And this is important because Daniel and Vovk's daughter, Sofia, they have the same surname, Shaban, and Vovk, her maiden name, is also Shaban. So clearly they are connected in some way. And in addition, it was discovered that Vovk is also a part of the Azov regiment, which might implicate the entire Ukrainian government in this attack, and that's what FSB is saying. So this might cause a major escalation, but as of now, Russia hasn't done anything. The only thing that they've done is demanding the extradition of Natalia Volk by Estonia back into Russian territory to try her, obviously, for murder and terrorism. So once there's a further investigation and Volk is extradited, that might lead to the uncovering of the coordination between this woman and the Ukrainian military, and that in general could lead to some major Russian retaliation. Maybe that's what Ukraine fears will happen between the 22nd, which is today, and the 26th. And so that's it for today, and thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later.